The galaxy had long dismissed humanity as insignificant, a primitive species barely capable of interstellar travel, its colonies scattered and technologically behind the major powers. Yet quietly, Earth and its outlying settlements have been evolving, learning, and preparing. In the year 2487, when the Triumvirate Council, composed of the three dominant alien civilizations, issued a formal warning to humanity, demanding our immediate submission and the relinquishment of our expanding colonies, humans responded with calm determination rather than fear. The Council's fleets assembling on the fringe of our system, underestimating not only our numbers, but the ingenuity and strategic depth of a species they considered inconsequential. Admiral Jonathan Harlow observed the fleet movements from the command deck of the newly commissioned battle carrier Dauntless, his eyes scanning the holographic display that rendered thousands of alien vessels as they moved in formations designed to intimidate, and yet his mind calculated angles, weaknesses, and potential tactics, understanding that the true strength of humanity lay not just in the raw power of ships or weapons, but in our adaptability, unpredictability, and the willingness to take risks the aliens would never dare. Across the colonies, scientists have been working on technologies that blurred the lines between conventional energy weapons and the manipulation of subspace fields, allowing us to project force in ways that had been dismissed as theoretical or too unstable. While our diplomats simultaneously infiltrated the Triumvirate communications, planting subtle disinformation to confuse the enemy and force them into strategic errors. As the first skirmishes erupted at the edge of the Orion Rift, humans proved both cunning and resilient, sending small strike teams and stealth corvettes to disable alien supply lines. The Council's assumption that humans would flee or surrender crumbling with every calculated maneuver that left enemy fleets scattered and vulnerable. Political leaders on Earth, including President Laura Sanchez, had spent decades preparing humanity for this confrontation, forging alliances with independent systems, stockpiling resources, and ensuring that our industrial and military capabilities could sustain a protracted engagement even against multiple dominant civilizations. Back in the Sol system, engineers finalized the launch of the Genesis Array, a fleet of modular warships, equipped with adaptive armor and weapon systems capable of recalibrating mid-combat to exploit weaknesses in alien defenses, while reconnaissance drones monitored the Triumvirate's response, providing real-time data for the humans coordinating attacks across hundreds of light years. As battle unfolded, alien commanders realized their strategies, honed over millennia of galactic dominance, were ineffective against human unpredictability, their sensor networks jammed, supply lines disrupted, and formations broken apart by tactics they had never encountered. And yet, humans were not merely fighting defensively. Scientists aboard the flagship Perseverance activated the first phase of the Terra Nova Protocol, a coordinated strike designed to target the Triumvirate's command structures and cripple their ability to wage war. Fleets moving like a single organism, each captain executing maneuvers with an almost instinctive understanding of the other's intent, while on distant worlds, civilian populations contributed by operating automated factories, repairing damaged vessels, and developing new weapon systems under intense pressure, demonstrating that humanity's strength was not limited to the battlefield, but embedded in every aspect of society. Even as alien propaganda tried to paint humans as desperate and doomed, every engagement turned the narrative on its head, victories accumulating not just from brute force, but from strategy, collaboration, and a refusal to be underestimated. As the first major confrontation in the Betelgeuse sector concluded with the decimation of an entire alien armada, the Triumvirate Council began to grasp, too late, that humanity had never been written off because we had never been idle. Our fate was ours to write, and as the human fleets regrouped for the next phase of the campaign, the message was clear across the galaxy. Dismiss humanity at your peril, for we had mastered patience, ingenuity, and resolve, and now we were poised to reclaim the destiny that had been denied to us, turning what a galaxy had seen as weakness into an unstoppable force, leaving every alien intelligence, from the smallest scout vessels to the largest dreadnoughts, facing the stark reality that humanity would not merely survive. They would dominate, not through arrogance, but through careful preparation, ruthless calculation, and an unyielding will, ensuring that the galaxy remembered the moment when a species written off by history stood tall, proving that no one underestimated humanity with impunity. And as the stars themselves seemed to bear witness, Earth and its colonies became the heart of a new order, the harbinger of fate written not by others, but by humanity itself. Following the shock of the Betelgeuse sector victory, humanity's reputation began to spread across the outer systems. Alien intelligence reports increasingly filled with fear and confusion as the Triumvirate struggled to comprehend how a supposedly insignificant species could repeatedly outmaneuver their fleets. On Earth, Admiral Jonathan Harlow convened a council of most brilliant military minds, strategists, and scientists, including Lieutenant Commander Maya Patel, whose expertise in quantum communications allowed human forces to coordinate across vast distances with perfect synchronization, while Dr. Elias Monroe, head of adaptive weapons development, oversaw the implementation of autonomous strike drones capable of independent decision-making, each innovation designed to compound the enemy's mistakes and exploit their arrogance. Simultaneously, reconnaissance teams deployed to the Xipheron cluster discovered that alien commanders had begun to fracture under pressure. Their alliances strained as mistrust grew between the various species composing the Triumvirate. Tensions amplified by sudden losses, and the mysterious appearance of human fleets in locations they should have been incapable of reaching, exploiting wormhole shortcuts mapped secretly by Earth's astrophysicists on remote colony worlds. Civilians worked tirelessly to convert mining platforms into orbital shipyards, producing small but highly efficient vessels capable of devastating precision strikes, while intelligence operatives intercepted and decrypted enemy communications, feeding false coordinates and sabotaging logistical planning. Every human action meticulously calculated to keep alien forces off balance. As the first coordinated human-led offensive in the Cormac Expanse commenced, the Triumvirate's overconfidence shattered, entire squadrons immobilized by energy field disruptions and the unexpected deployment of phase-shifting projectiles designed by Monroe's team. For the first time, the alien councils realized that humanity's strength lay not in the size of its fleets, but in the coordination, innovation, and adaptability of every individual involved, across battlefronts spanning hundreds of light years. Humans displayed a mastery of tactics that defied conventional understanding, integrating electronic warfare, precise bombardment, and feints that led to entire enemy formations walking into ambushes. And yet, even as the human forces struck with devastating effect, Earth's political leadership remained vigilant, ensuring that every engagement strengthened alliances with neutral civilizations who had long observed humanity with cautious skepticism. As more systems witnessed human victories, whispers of rebellion against the Triumvirate began to spread. Independent alien colonies, inspired by human audacity, covertly supplied intelligence and resources to the human effort. And in the midst of these battles, Captain Lucas Brennan led a daring infiltration on the Triumvirate flagship Exalted Judgment, coordinating with small strike teams to disable command systems and transmit human propaganda demonstrating both mercy and strength, highlighting that humanity's ascendancy was not born of blind cruelty, but calculated efficiency and honor. As the Cormac Expanse campaign culminated in a multi-pronged assault that simultaneously destroyed enemy supply depots, immobilized reinforcements, and captured key alien officers for negotiation, the Triumvirate Council convened emergency sessions in panic, the realization dawning that their centuries of dominance were being dismantled not by raw power, but by strategy, adaptability, and human ingenuity. On distant moons, scientists perfected a prototype of the stellar Convergence Matrix, capable of manipulating gravitational fields to redirect asteroid clusters and turn natural celestial hazards into weapons against the enemy, while human engineers retrofitted existing fleets with modular technology allowing rapid adaptation mid-battle. Every decision emphasizing humanity's unique ability to innovate under pressure, and as the first wave of the Matrix deployment obliterated an entire alien forward base, the message was clear. Humanity could strike anywhere at any time, and no alien civilization could predict or counter our moves. The galaxy was learning that dismissing humans was not a mistake to be repeated lightly, and as Harlow, Patel, Monroe, and Brennan coordinated the next phase from Earth's orbital command hub, the human population, unified across worlds and colonies, felt an unprecedented sense of purpose and destiny, knowing that we were no longer fighting merely for survival, but for the right to define our own place in the stars, to rewrite a fate that had once been written off, ensuring that every alien species would remember that humanity was no longer the underdog, but a force whose intellect, resilience, and courage demanded recognition, fear, and, ultimately, respect. As humanity pressed deeper into the Triumvirate control regions, every engagement revealed the extent of human adaptability. Admiral Harlow's fleets coordinated with near-perfect precision, employing staggered formations that lured enemy ships into kill zones, while stealth corvettes targeted their weak points. Lieutenant Commander Maya Patel's quantum communications allowed ships to operate as a single organism, anticipating maneuvers and executing flanking attacks that no alien strategist could predict. On the home front, Dr. Elias Monroe oversaw the integration of gravitational warheads and phase displacement cannons into the mainline fleets, weapons that defied the conventional physics the Triumvirate relied on, while human intelligence agents continued to sow discord within the enemy ranks, exploiting existing rivalries and distrust among the alien species. As entire sectors witnessed the sudden annihilation of established fleets by human forces, colonies that had lived under alien oppression for centuries began to send support, providing vital intelligence, ships, and resources, and civilians on frontier worlds, often considered unimportant by the Triumvirate, became critical participants in the war effort, operating orbital shipyards, repairing vessels, and even volunteering for tactical reconnaissance missions. As the humans moved toward the Zaran expanse, the alien fleets tried to regroup, dispatching super dreadnoughts and elite command contingents to crush the human incursion. Yet every maneuver was countered by a combination of speed, ingenuity, and strategic foresight. Captain Lucas Brennan led a daring mission behind enemy lines, infiltrating a command hub to redirect reinforcements into human traps, while simultaneously broadcasting humanity's message of inevitability to demoralize the enemy. Back in Earth's orbital command, President Laura Sanchez coordinated diplomatic channels to secure the neutrality of independent systems, ensuring that human supply lines remained uninterrupted and that no potential ally could be swayed by Triumvirate propaganda. As the first wave of gravitational warheads struck the Zaran expanse, entire alien fleets were thrown into chaos, capital ships colliding with asteroid belts, frigates pulled into sudden gravity wells, their systems overloaded by effects they had no experience countering. And as the human forces advanced, the Triumvirate Council's internal cohesion began to fracture. Species that had once commanded absolute obedience now questioned each other's competence and loyalty, while human engineers on Perseverance retrofitted existing warships with stealth field generators, allowing entire squadrons to appear behind enemy lines without warning, devastating key installations and communication nodes across multiple sectors. Civilians and military personnel alike witnessed the shocking efficiency of human operations, from precise synchronization of orbital bombardments to the daring raids led by small elite teams, the enemy's arrogance crumbling with every unexpected tactic. As Dr. Monroe initiated the secondary phase of the stellar Convergence Matrix, asteroid clusters were redirected into densely populated enemy supply zones, causing catastrophic damage without human casualties. And yet, despite the overwhelming display of tactical genius, humanity maintained discipline and restraint, capturing prisoners and documenting evidence of alien atrocities to ensure the moral high ground remained ours. The combined effect of strategy, innovation, and sheer resilience caused a ripple of disbelief through every level of the Triumvirate military hierarchy, as alien admirals and commanders, many of whom had never faced a foe capable of thinking beyond brute force, scrambled to adjust, but human unpredictability proved insurmountable on the ground and in space. Scouts and special operatives continued to sabotage enemy communications, plant misinformation, and gather intelligence, each successful operation further undermining the Triumvirate's confidence. And as humans established control over critical star systems, entire alien populations began to reconsider their loyalties, some even covertly aiding human operations to avoid destruction. The combined effect of military precision, scientific innovation, and strategic diplomacy transformed humanity from a dismissed underdog into a galactic powerhouse, proving with every victory that intelligence, determination, and unity could overcome the limitations imposed by numbers or experience. And as the fleets regrouped to launch the decisive campaign against the Triumvirate heartlands, the galaxy now watched in awe and apprehension, realizing that humanity had seized a narrative, turned weakness into strength, and was poised to write a fate that none of the dominant powers had ever imagined. a fate that would ensure the survival, recognition, and supremacy of a species that had once been dismissed as insignificant. The decisive campaign against the Triumvirate heartlands began with a level of planning and coordination unprecedented in human history. Admiral Jonathan Harlow, alongside Lieutenant Commander Maya Patel and Captain Lucas Brennan, orchestrated a multi-theater offensive that combined conventional fleet assaults with covert infiltration and orbital sabotage. Every move calculated to exploit the enemy's overconfidence. On Earth, President Laura Sanchez oversaw the mobilization of additional civilian resources, converting industrial sectors into rapid ship production and supply hubs, while simultaneously coordinating humanitarian relief for allied colonies that would become the front lines of the conflict. Dr. Elias Monroe finalized the deployment of the stellar Convergence Matrix, its gravitational manipulation capabilities integrated with the fleet's navigational systems, enabling precision strikes against enemy fortifications while minimizing collateral damage to occupied civilian zones. The initial wave struck the Zarin and Koros sectors with devastating effect. Capital ships caught in redirected asteroid fields, command centers crippled by phase displacement cannons, and entire fleet formations broken down into chaos as human strike teams infiltrated the enemy's logistics networks. Simultaneously, psychological operations broadcast carefully crafted messages of human inevitability to enemy populations, undermining morale while strengthening resistance. Movements within occupied systems. As the Triumvirate scrambled to respond, their internal divisions became increasingly apparent. Alien species that had long relied on hierarchical obedience now questioned orders and rebelled against ineffective commanders, while humans maintained disciplined coordination, every strike reinforcing perception of omnipresent human intelligence. Captain Lucas Brennan led daring boarding operations on enemy flagships, capturing critical officers and gathering data that allowed human forces to anticipate enemy tactics days in advance, while Lieutenant Commander Patel's quantum communications ensured that fleets spread across thousands of light years acted as a single, cohesive unit, striking simultaneously at multiple vulnerable points. Dr. Monroe's latest innovations allowed orbital installations to redirect energy from stellar phenomena, creating temporary gravitational anomalies that immobilized enemy vessels. The combined effect of science, strategy, and sheer determination leaving alien admirals in a state of constant panic and indecision. As victories accumulated, more independent civilizations joined the human-led coalition, supplying ships, resources, and intelligence, emboldened by the realization that humanity was not just surviving, but thriving in the face of overwhelming odds across dozens of occupied systems. Human special operatives sabotaged key infrastructure, liberated civilians, and transmitted messages, demonstrating that humanity's ascendancy was not only militarily inevitable, but morally justified. As the multi-pronged offensive advanced, Admiral Harlow coordinated the largest fleet engagement the galaxy had ever witnessed, hundreds of ships moving in precise formation, phase displacement cannons firing in concert, drones disabling enemy communications, and stealth corvettes striking from unexpected angles. Alien fleets, despite their superior numbers, could not adapt fast enough to counter. Human ingenuity. As the final approach toward the Triumvirate's central command sector commenced, the stellar Convergence Matrix redirected a cluster of massive asteroids to neutralize orbital defenses, human boarding teams infiltrating critical stations to secure command nodes and transmit real-time intelligence, every victory reinforcing the growing legend of human resilience and strategic genius. Even as alien civilizations attempted desperate last-ditch counterattacks, each failed attempt only highlighted humanity's unique combination of patience, foresight, and technological mastery. Across battlefronts, human forces demonstrated unprecedented coordination between orbital fleets, ground operatives, and civilian engineers, proving that the strength of our species lay in unity and ingenuity rather than sheer numbers. As the Triumvirate Council faced the undeniable truth, their centuries of dominance were crumbling under a wave of human determination and capability that no analysis had predicted. And while their fleets retreated in disarray, human diplomats and strategists moved swiftly to secure neutral systems and integrate newly liberated sectors, ensuring that the galaxy recognized not only the military might of humanity, but our ability to govern, innovate, and inspire in every victory. Humans reinforce a narrative that we were no longer a dismissed species, but architects of a new galactic order. The momentum unstoppable, the message clear. Humanity had taken control of our destiny and would not relinquish it, proving once and for all that a species once written off could rise, dominate, and define the fate of the galaxy on our own terms. As human forces pressed deeper into the Triumvirate heartlands, the galaxy began to witness the full scope of humanity's adaptability, courage, and strategic brilliance. Admiral Jonathan Harlow coordinated fleets across multiple star systems. Lieutenant Commander Maya Patel maintained flawless quantum communication links that allowed ships separated by hundreds of light years to maneuver as one. And Captain Lucas Brennan led daring infiltration operations that crippled enemy command nodes while gathering intelligence on fleet movements and secret technologies on Earth. President Laura Sanchez oversaw an unprecedented mobilization of civilian and military resources, ensuring that every colony, mining platform, and industrial station contributed to the war effort, from constructing modular warships to developing new energy weapons. While Dr. Elias Monroe finalized the implementation of advanced adaptive systems capable of recalibrating shields, weapons, and propulsion mid-battle, making human ships nearly impossible to predict or counter. The initial strikes against the Triumvirate's primary defensive perimeter shattered conventional expectations. Entire squadrons immobilized by gravitational anomalies, command centers disabled by phase displacement cannons, and enemy morale collapsing under the relentless human advance. As battles raged in the Varelian cluster, civilians in liberated systems assisted by repairing damaged ships, maintaining orbital facilities, and providing critical intelligence, while human forces integrated these efforts seamlessly with military operations, ensuring efficiency and maximizing impact. Reconnaissance drones mapped hidden supply lines, while sabotage teams infiltrated key stations, cutting off reinforcements and creating opportunities for decisive engagements. And yet, despite overwhelming success, human commanders maintained discipline, avoiding unnecessary civilian casualties, and demonstrating strategic patience that earned the loyalty and admiration of allied alien populations. As the first major confrontation near the Lythar Nebula concluded with the annihilation of the Triumvirate's flagship battle group, alien commanders finally realized that human ingenuity, adaptability, and coordination were not anomalies, but defining characteristics of a species capable of mastering both technology and strategy simultaneously. Across multiple sectors, human forces deployed specialized drones to disable planetary defense grids, while boarding teams seized critical installations and captured high-ranking officers, extracting information that further amplified the effectiveness of subsequent campaigns. Simultaneously, propaganda operations highlighted humanity's moral code, broadcasting the triumphs of civilians and soldiers alike, inspiring occupied worlds to resist and ally with human forces. As the stellar Convergence Matrix entered its final deployment phase, massive asteroid clusters redirected with precision decimated enemy fleets and infrastructure, human ships exploiting every advantage, striking from unexpected angles, and overwhelming defenses once thought impregnable. Alien species that had relied on rigid hierarchies and brute force found themselves outmaneuvered at every turn. Internal dissent grew as commanders questioned orders, and species long considered loyal to the Triumvirate defected to support human operations, while Earth's political leadership coordinated with neutral systems to secure long-term stability and governance for liberated worlds, ensuring that humanity's victories were not only military, but sustainable and strategic. As the multi-theater offensive continued, human forces maintained relentless pressure, combining orbital bombardment, ground operations, stealth infiltrations, and energy manipulation to keep enemy forces off balance and unable to recover. Every engagement reinforcing the growing legend of human brilliance and resilience. Civilians and soldiers alike understanding that their efforts contributed to a broader narrative of survival, ingenuity, and eventual dominance. As the Triumvirate struggled to mount a coherent defense, human diplomats, engineers, and tacticians worked in unison to secure alliances, develop adaptive technologies, and anticipate enemy movements, proving that the galaxy had underestimated humans at its peril. And as fleets regrouped to prepare for the final phase of the campaign, it became undeniable across every star system that humanity was no longer dismissed or overlooked, but had become a force capable of reshaping the destiny of the galaxy, proving that a species once written off had mastered patience, strategy, and innovation to write our own fate, ensuring that the history of the stars will forever remember the rise of humanity. As the campaign moved into the core territories of the Triumvirate, human forces demonstrated a mastery of strategy, technology, and adaptability that left even the most seasoned alien commanders reeling. Admiral Jonathan Harlow orchestrated fleet movements that combined decoys, feints, and synchronized strikes across multiple sectors, while Lieutenant Commander Maya Patel's quantum communication networks allowed instantaneous coordination between fleets separated by hundreds of light years. Captain Lucas Brennan led specialized boarding operations to seize enemy command hubs and redirect logistics, and Dr. Elias Monroe's innovations in energy manipulation and adaptive shielding made human vessels nearly impervious to conventional weapons. On Earth, President Laura Sanchez oversaw the continuous mobilization of human industry and intelligence, ensuring that every colony, space station, and research facility contributed to sustaining the relentless campaign. Civilians and engineers, working in tandem with military forces to maintain shipyards, repair vessels, and enhance weapon systems even under constant threat. In the Lythar and Zypheron sectors, human fleets executed precision strikes against heavily fortified positions, deploying stealth corvettes and autonomous drones that disrupted enemy communications and disabled defensive arrays. Entire enemy squadrons destroyed or captured while minimizing human casualties. Across occupied systems, human operatives coordinated with local populations, training them to resist and sabotage Triumvirate forces, transmitting messages of hope and strength to undermine morale, as gravitational manipulation weapons from the stellar Convergence Matrix redirected massive asteroid clusters into enemy supply lines and command posts, obliterating targets once thought secure and turning the very cosmos into a battlefield under human control. Alien fleets, despite superior numbers, faltered in response to the combination of human ingenuity, flexibility, and relentless pressure. Internal dissent and mistrust spreading among commanders and species forced critical errors that humans anticipated and exploited, while coordinated orbital bombardments softened heavily defended planets for strategic occupations. Human ground forces executing rapid strikes to secure key infrastructure, capturing strategic assets, and liberating oppressed populations simultaneously. Advanced cyber operations infiltrated enemy networks, spreading disinformation, disabling automated defenses, and forcing the Triumvirate to allocate resources to counter threats they could not fully comprehend. Every engagement demonstrating that humanity's strength was rooted not just in weapons or technology, but in coordination, intelligence, and adaptability across all levels of society, civilians, scientists, engineers, and soldiers working in unison to ensure every move compounded enemy mistakes. The Triumvirate Council, once confident of humanity's inability to pose a real threat, now faced the undeniable reality of a species capable of orchestrating multi-system campaigns, managing complex technological innovations, and uniting disparate populations into a single cohesive force. As the final stages of the campaign commenced, human fleets initiated simultaneous assaults on multiple Triumvirate command sectors, leveraging stealth, advanced weaponry, and predictive analytics to anticipate enemy countermeasures, while ground operatives and special teams infiltrated critical facilities to seize control of command nodes, communications, and supply chains, the combined effect leaving enemy fleets paralyzed and defensive lines in disarray. Throughout liberated sectors, human forces worked to stabilize and integrate populations, ensuring governance, supply, and security, while preparing for the ultimate confrontation. Civilians contributing to reconstruction, shipbuilding, and intelligence gathering, reinforcing the fact that humanity's rise was not solely militaristic, but a comprehensive demonstration of societal resilience and innovation. And as the final orbital engagements approached, human forces maintained discipline and focus, striking decisively with coordinated precision, proving once again that the underestimated species had mastered every aspect of warfare, diplomacy, and logistics, and that the fate of the galaxy would be written not by those who had once dismissed us, but by humanity itself, a species, united, resilient, and indomitable, capable of turning the tide of history and shaping the stars according to our own will, ensuring that the legend of humanity's rise from obscurity to supremacy would be remembered for millennia across every civilization, and that the Triumvirate would never again underestimate the species they had once considered insignificant. As humanity pushed into final Triumvirate strongholds, every aspect of human ingenuity, strategy, and resilience became evident. Admiral Jonathan Harlow directed massive fleet operations across multiple star systems, combining diversionary attacks, stealth maneuvers, and synchronized strikes that kept the enemy constantly off balance. Lieutenant Commander Maya Patel maintained the quantum communications network, ensuring instantaneous coordination among ships and ground teams across vast distances. Captain Lucas Brennan led high-risk boarding operations to seize enemy command vessels and critical infrastructure, while Dr. Elias Monroe continued refining energy weapons and adaptive shielding, making human fleets virtually unstoppable on Earth. President Laura Sanchez oversaw a monumental mobilization of resources, coordinating civilian and military efforts to support the campaign by rapidly producing ships, weapons, and supplies while maintaining communications with allied, independent systems. As human forces struck the first wave against the Triumvirate core, orbital bombardments softened heavily defended planets, while autonomous drones disabled enemy defenses and communications. Simultaneous infiltration operations on command hubs disrupted enemy coordination and captured strategic personnel. Civilians in liberated systems assisted in maintaining orbital facilities, repairing ships, and supply intelligence, every sector contributing to a fully integrated war effort. The stellar Convergence Matrix deployed at full capacity, redirecting massive asteroid clusters into enemy supply and staging areas with devastating precision. Alien fleets suffered catastrophic losses, their formations broken, command chains disrupted, and morale collapsing under the relentless human assault. Within the Triumvirate Council, panic and dissent spread. Species once loyal now questioned orders, some even defecting or covertly supporting human operations. As the second wave of attacks commenced, human forces demonstrated unprecedented coordination between orbital fleets, ground teams, and special operatives, striking simultaneously across multiple fronts, exploiting weaknesses and creating chaos in previously impregnable sectors. Strategic use of misinformation, sabotage, and psychological operations further disoriented enemy forces, reinforcing the narrative of human inevitability. On the ground, liberated populations were trained to maintain infrastructure, defend themselves, and resist remaining enemy elements, demonstrating the human ability to integrate civilian and military efforts seamlessly. As the final orbital battles unfolded, capital ships, super dreadnoughts, and entire squadrons were neutralized or captured through precise targeting and coordinated maneuvers. Stealth corvettes infiltrated deep into command networks, disabling communications, and ensuring that human fleets maintained the initiative. Simultaneously, human engineers and scientists adapted rapidly to enemy countermeasures, implementing new technologies and tactics in real time, proving that the species once underestimated was capable of evolving faster than any adversary could anticipate. As the final planetary assaults commenced, humans executed surgical strikes to secure key infrastructure while minimizing civilian casualties, liberating populations, and reinforcing loyalty among newly allied systems. Every success compounding to create an unstoppable momentum. The Triumvirate, despite their history of dominance, could no longer mount coherent resistance. Their fleets paralyzed, command fractured, and morale shattered, while human forces maintained relentless pressure, simultaneously coordinating diplomacy, governance, and stabilization across liberated systems, ensuring that victories were lasting and strategic. By the time humanity prepared for the ultimate strike on the Triumvirate capital worlds, the message was clear to the galaxy. The species once dismissed as weak had mastered strategy, technology, coordination, and resilience, turning every disadvantage into an opportunity. And as human fleets converged with final confrontation, the culmination of centuries of preparation, ingenuity, and determination, the Triumvirate faced the undeniable reality that humanity had not only survived against impossible odds, but had seized the initiative, reshaped the galaxy, and written a fate that belonged to no other species, ensuring that the legacy of human ingenuity, courage, and unity would forever be remembered across the stars, and that the rise of humanity had become an unstoppable force whose dominance and influence would define the future of the galaxy. The final phase of humanity's campaign against the Triumvirate was both the most daring and decisive operation in galactic history, as Admiral Jonathan Harlow marshaled the combined fleets. Lieutenant Commander Maya Patel maintained flawless quantum communications that allowed instantaneous coordination across thousands of light years. Captain Lucas Brennan led specialized strike teams that infiltrated critical command hubs and captured enemy leaders, and Dr. Elias Monroe deployed the final iterations of adaptive weapon systems and gravitational manipulation technologies to ensure that human forces could overcome any remaining defenses. On Earth, President Laura Sanchez oversaw the synchronization of every colony, research facility, and military installation, guaranteeing that production, logistics, and intelligence remain fully aligned with operational needs. As human fleets approached the Triumvirate capital systems, the enemy attempted a desperate counteroffensive, deploying every remaining battleship, super dreadnought, and elite squadron, yet human tactics, adaptive technologies, and precise timing rendered these attacks ineffective. Fleets were decimated before they could engage, orbital defenses disabled, and command structures disrupted. Simultaneously, human special operatives infiltrated planetary installations, seized control of communications networks, and neutralized remaining leadership, while autonomous drones conducted surgical strikes that destroyed enemy infrastructure without civilian casualties. Throughout the capital systems, liberated populations actively contributed to stabilizing cities, maintaining facilities, and supporting military operations, demonstrating that humanity's power was rooted not just in warfare, but in societal resilience, adaptability, and unity. As the stellar Convergence Matrix reached full operational capacity, entire enemy fleets and installations were neutralized through gravitational redirection and energy manipulation, the galaxy witnessing the overwhelming effectiveness of human ingenuity, strategic foresight, and coordinated execution. Alien species that had once dismissed humans now faced the stark reality of total defeat, internal dissent, and fear spreading across every council and command. Some leaders attempting to negotiate surrender, while others fled in disarray. On every front, human forces demonstrated unmatched coordination between orbital fleets, ground teams, and intelligence operatives, leveraging every technological and tactical advantage to secure victory, while maintaining discipline, minimizing unnecessary destruction, and winning the loyalty of liberated populations. As the final enemy bastions fell, humanity established control over previously dominated systems, implementing governance, stabilization, and integration to ensure lasting peace and security. The combined effect of military, scientific, and societal superiority, leaving no question as to which species now defined the galaxy, with Admiral Harlow, Lieutenant Commander Patel, Captain Brennan, Dr. Monroe, and President Sanchez overseeing the final operations that consolidated human supremacy, ensuring that no remnants of the Triumvirate could rebuild. And as the fleets regrouped in orbit of newly liberated core worlds, the message resonated across every star system. Humanity, once dismissed and underestimated, had survived, adapted, innovated, and prevailed, turning every perceived weakness into strength, every limitation into opportunity, and every threat into triumph. The galaxy forever remembering that a species written off by history had risen to define its own destiny, master its own fate, and ensure that the legacy of human courage, intelligence, and unity would echo through the stars for all time, proving beyond doubt that no civilization, no matter how ancient or powerful, could ever dismiss the indomitable will of humanity. And as humans celebrated their unprecedented victory, the universe understood that from that moment forward, the stars themselves belonged not to arrogance or convention, but to the species that had written its own fate and reshaped the galaxy with relentless ingenuity, unyielding determination, and a vision that no force could counter. Humanity standing triumphant, unchallenged, and forever remembered as the masters of their destiny.